Please be seated. Friends, family, honored guests, faculty, and graduates, good afternoon. My name is Margaret Raymond, and I'm the Dean of the University of Wisconsin Law School. It is my honor, my privilege, and my pleasure to welcome you all to our hooding ceremony. I'm going to flip the order a little bit and welcome our graduates first. Congratulations. We are all so proud of you, and we are delighted to share today's celebration with you. Next, I'd like to welcome all the friends, family, and loved ones of the graduates. Today marks a special moment for you as well. We all know how important your support, your patience, your interest, or at least your feigned interest, and your love were to our graduates. So graduating class, our first order of business is for you to recognize all of these very important people whose contributions were essential to your success. So I'd like you to stand, turn to your friends and family, and give them a round of applause. This is their celebration too. There is one member of this JD class who cannot celebrate with us today, and at this time we will honor him. I'd like to ask everyone to pause for a moment of silence in memory of Jacob Brunklick, who passed away last year. Thank you. Jacob's family could not be here with us today, but I hope you will hold them in your thoughts today, as I will. I also want to recommend to welcome our remote family and friends who are streaming this ceremony online. Welcome. We're very glad that you can join us remotely, and we have now joined the 21st century. You can also follow the ceremony on social media. There's our hashtag. So audience, graduates, use the hashtag throughout our ceremony, and if you're coming to Camp Randall tomorrow, it will work there as well. It's now my privilege to welcome our honored guests on the stage this afternoon. They are the Honorable Diane S. Sykes of the U.S. the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit, my apologies, who will be our keynote speaker for today, our law school speaker, Director of Student Life, Mike Hall, and our student speakers, Sophia Escorbe, Courtney Nussbaumer, and Jin Su. Also on the stage are my colleagues, the University of Wisconsin Law School faculty. As your teachers, mentors, and guides, we've been with you on your journey. We're pleased and proud to share with you this day when you all transition from being our students to being our colleagues and friends. My guess is that there are also some faculty in the audience who are happy to be here but hate wearing academic attire. So I'm going to ask the faculty to stand or wave or otherwise be recognized by our graduates, and that includes all of you out in the audience. Thank you. Although this is a happy day, graduation is a little bit sad because we're going to miss you. You've all made your own way here and built communities of commitment and connection around you. Please stay in touch with us. We look forward to hearing from you. It is now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, the Honorable Diane S. Sykes. Judge Sykes was nominated to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit by President George W. Bush and confirmed by the United States Senate in June 2004. Prior to her appointment to the federal bench, Judge Sykes was a justice on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. She was appointed by Governor Tommy Thompson in 1999 and later elected to a full term. Judge Sykes served on the state trial bench in Milwaukee County, practiced law at White Hirschbeck, and served as a law clerk for federal Judge Terrence T. Evans. Born and raised in the Milwaukee area, Judge Sykes earned her bachelor's degree in journalism from Northwestern University and a law degree from Marquette University Law School. But we can still be friends. Before attending law school, Judge Sykes worked as a reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. We are delighted to have Judge Sykes here with us today. She has always been a good friend to the law school. A high point for us has been the occasions when she, as a member of the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, has come to Madison as part of a panel of judges to hear federal appellate cases argued here at our law school. She has also been gracious enough to serve as a judge for our annual Evans Moot Court competition, and we're very honored to welcome her again today. Please join me in welcoming Judge Diane Sykes.
Thank you. Dean Raymond, distinguished members of the faculty, family, and friends of the graduates, and most importantly, the members of the University of Wisconsin Law School class of 2017. Thank you for inviting me to be with you here today on this very special occasion. It's an honor for me to be here, and I'm delighted to be among the first to congratulate you and to welcome you to the profession that we now share. You're here today because of your own hard work in the serious and sustained study of the law. But as with other milestone moments, I hope you take time to reflect on the help you've received from others, the love and support of your families, the intellectual guidance of this excellent faculty, and the encouragement of friends. They are right to be immensely proud of you, and I join them in celebrating your achievement today. Later this month, you'll be admitted to the State Bar of Wisconsin in a ceremony before the Wisconsin Supreme Court in its magnificent hearing room in the state capitol. One of the justices will administer the lawyer's oath, and the final step in the admission process requires each of you, as new members of the bar, to sign the court's roll of attorneys. 180 years ago, almost to the month, another newly minted lawyer was, like you, standing at the threshold of a promising career in the profession of law. In March of 1837, Abraham Lincoln's name was entered in the roll of attorneys at the Illinois Supreme Court. I have always agreed with the general historical consensus that Lincoln was our greatest president. His political life has much to teach us. But he was also the president with the most experience in the courtroom, and we can all learn from his approach to the practice of law. So in my short time with you today, I'd like to share a story about a very small case that Abraham Lincoln tried during his more than 2 decades as a lawyer riding circuit in the state courts of Central Illinois. It's a totally obscure and insignificant case. I stumbled on it by happenstance when I was serving on the Wisconsin Supreme Court and preparing a speech about Lincoln that I was scheduled to give at several events around the state. I wanted to focus on Lincoln the lawyer, not Lincoln the president. And I discovered this case in a wonderful compendium of more than 600 letters, interviews, and testimonials collected by William Herndon, Lincoln's last law partner, after the president was assassinated. The story of Case versus Snow Brothers appears as testimonial number 605. It has really stayed with me, and I'd like to share it with you today. But first, a bit of background. In the fall of 1834, not quite 3 years before Lincoln's name was entered on the roll of attorneys, our 16th president traveled the 20 miles or so from his home in the backwoods of tiny New Salem, Illinois, to the law office of one John Stewart, a Springfield attorney, who lent him the books he would need to teach himself the law. At that time, Lincoln was 25 years old and had dabbled in other occupations, including land surveyor and postmaster. He had toyed with the idea of studying the law, but rejected it because he thought he could not succeed without a better education. With John Stewart's encouragement, Lincoln took the borrowed books back to New Salem and began the arduous task of learning the law. 2 years later, he passed an oral exam and received his law license. And on March 1st, 1837, his name was inscribed on the roll of attorneys at the state Supreme Court. He promptly moved to Springfield and became junior partner to his mentor, John Stewart. Now, Lincoln was already serving as a state representative in the Illinois General Assembly, having first been elected in 1834 at the tender age of 25. He was politically ambitious and a committed member of the Whig Party, which stood in opposition to Jacksonian populism. He was firmly anti-slavery, but not a radical abolitionist. He preferred instead to push for change within established political and legal institutions. In the meantime, he threw himself into his law practice. His work was largely removed from the great issues of the day, but it was clearly informed by his Whig sensibilities. He was thoroughly committed to tradition, ordered liberty under law, and the imperative that reason must prevail against the excesses of passion. Lincoln's law practice, spanning more than 2 decades, encompassed a wide assortment of clients and cases. Very little of this work was glamorous or exciting. But he was especially good before a jury, and his law practice was infused with a practical wisdom and a moral dimension that is instructive for us today. The humble case of Case versus Snow Brothers captures these qualities in a particularly vivid way. Let me set the stage with another testimonial recorded in the compendium by William Herndon himself. It memorializes an interview with a Springfield citizen who had witnessed a discussion between Lincoln and a prospective client who wanted to engage his services in a suit against a local widow. Here is what Herndon wrote. A citizen of Springfield who visited our office on business relates the following. Mr. Lincoln was seated at his table listening very attentively to a man who was talking earnestly in a low tone. After the would-be client had stated the facts of his case, Mr. Lincoln replied, "Yes, there is no reasonable doubt but that I can gain your case for you. I can set the whole neighborhood at loggerheads. I can distress a widowed mother and her 6 fatherless children and thereby get for you $600, which you seem to have a legal claim to, but which rightfully belongs, it appears to me, as much to the woman and her children as it does to you. You must remember that some things that are legally right are not morally right. I shall not take your case, but I will give you a little advice for which I will charge you nothing. You seem to be a sprightly, energetic man. I would advise you to try your hand at making $600 in some other way." With that small window on Lincoln's approach to the practice of law, now listen to the story of Case versus Snow Brothers, as recorded in the testimonial of a local pastor who served several churches in the 8th Judicial District in central Illinois, where Lincoln's law practice was concentrated. Lincoln's client was the plaintiff, Mr. Case, an old man who had sold several yoke of oxen and a plow to 2 teenagers, only to have them later renege on the payment. Their counsel asserted that because they were minors, the debt was void under the Illinois Minor Act. Here is the story in the words of the good pastor who watched the trial. In the spring term of the Tazewell County Court in 1847, which at that time was held in the village of Tremont, I was detained as a witness an entire week. Lincoln was employed in several suits, and among them was one of Case versus Snow Brothers. The Snow Brothers, as appeared in evidence, who were both minors, had purchased from an old Mr. Case what was then called a prairie team, consisting of 2 or 3 yoke of oxen and a prairie plow, giving therefore their joint note for some $200. But when payday came, refused to pay, pleading the Minor Act. The note was placed in Lincoln's hands for collection. The suit was called and a jury impaneled. The Snow Brothers did not deny the note, but pleaded through their counsel that they were minors and that Mr. Case knew they were at the time of the contract and conveyance. All this was admitted by Mr. Lincoln with his peculiar phrase, "Yes, gentlemen, I reckon that's so." The Minor Act was read and its validity admitted in the same manner. The counsel of the defendants were permitted without question to say all these things to the jury and to show by the statute that these minors could not be held responsible for their contract. By this time, you may well suppose that I began to be uneasy. What, thought I, this good old man who confided in these boys to be wronged in this way, and even his counsel, Mr. Lincoln, to submit in silence? I looked at the court, Judge Treat, but could read nothing in his calm and dignified manner. Just then, Mr. Lincoln slowly got up, and in his strange, half-erect attitude and clear, quiet accent, began. "Gentlemen of the jury, are you willing to allow these boys to begin life with this shame and disgrace attached to their character? If you are, I am not. The best judge of human character that ever wrote has left these immortal words for all of us to ponder. Good name in man or woman, dear my lord, is the immediate jewel of their souls. Who steals my purse steals trash. 'Tis something, nothing. 'Twas mine, 'tis his, and has been slave to thousands. But he that filches from me my good name robs me of that which not enriches him, but makes me poor indeed." Then, rising to his full height and looking upon the defendants with the compassion of a brother, his long right arm extended toward the opposing counsel, he continued, "Gentlemen of the jury, these poor innocent boys would never have attempted this low villainy had it not been for the advice of these lawyers." Then, for a few minutes, he showed how even the noble science of the law may be prostituted. With a scathing rebuke to those who thus belittle their profession, he concluded, "And now, gentlemen, you have it in your power to set these boys right before the world." He pleaded for the young men only. I think he did not mention his client's name. The jury, without leaving their seats, decided that the defendants must pay the debt, and the latter, after hearing Lincoln, were as willing to pay it as the jury were determined they should. I think the entire argument lasted not above 5 minutes. Now, what's your first reaction to this story? I won't call on anyone. Let's just have a show of hands. Was this a really terrific closing argument? Yes, yes, obviously. Was it an improper closing argument, inviting the jury to nullify the law? Nodding heads all around. Maybe so, when judged from our perspective as 21st century lawyers accustomed to the doctrine that the court is the sole judge of the law. But Lincoln's argument was comfortably within the legal norms of his time, which generally accepted that the jury's power extended to the facts and the law. Now, with that in mind, was this a just verdict? An unjust verdict? My own view is that it was just, and that Lincoln's argument in Case versus Snow Brothers, together with his advice to that prospective client as he declined to take his case, has something to teach us about the ethics of everyday law practice. I don't mean ethics in the sense of the rules contained in our code of conduct. The choice to plead the Minor Act on behalf of the Snow Brothers was obviously fully ethical in that formal sense. Had this case arisen today and that statute was still on the books, no doubt it would have been resolved in favor of the defendants on summary judgment. The court would have little choice but to apply the statute and void the debt. But the defense attorneys had another option available to them. They could have counseled their young clients to keep their promise to old Mr. Case and settled the debt in a way that would make it possible for the teenagers to fulfill their obligation, notwithstanding their youth. To paraphrase Lincoln's advice to that would-be client, they could have explained to the Snow Brothers that just because you have a legal advantage doesn't make it right to take that legal advantage, especially when more important principles are at stake. The statute that allows the court to void contracts made by minors exists to shield them from predatory adults, not to permit them to take advantage of others. Mr. Case had charged a fair price for his Prairie team. I checked. It was in line with the going rate at that time, according to Google. The Minor Act was surely an available defense, but invoking it would come at a high cost to the character of those young men as they stood on the threshold of adulthood, establishing their reputations for honesty. Their lawyers could have counseled them to do the right thing and keep their word. As it was, Abraham Lincoln's eloquent 5-minute closing argument achieved the same thing. This single small case from Lincoln's life as a Prairie lawyer reminds us of the human dimension of the practice of law. After Lincoln's death, White House secretaries discovered a document on which he had recorded some notes for a law lecture apparently intended for an audience of new lawyers. It's dated July 1st, 1850, but historians do not know if that date is accurate or whether he ever delivered the lecture. The notes contain many words of wisdom for new lawyers. I'll close with just one short passage that I think reflects his emphasis on the capacity of lawyers to be forces for good within their communities. He advised the young lawyers to persuade your neighbors to compromise whenever they can. As a peacemaker, the lawyer has a superior opportunity of being a good man. There will still be business enough. Compromise in the law is not always the best course and is sometimes impossible, but the larger point remains and speaks an enduring truth. Our law is the just instrument by which we secure and order our freedom and live peacefully together. Lincoln's challenge to all of us is this: in our daily work in this noble profession, we should try, whenever possible, to deploy the law in a way that promotes human flourishing and serves the common good. I'm confident that your time here at this wonderful law school has well prepared you to meet this challenge. Congratulations to all of you, and welcome to the legal profession.
Thank you, Judge Sykes, for those thought-provoking remarks. Don't you want to go get that Herndon volume and kind of browse it? A nerd's idea of what would be really fun to do this weekend. You may have noticed that our program includes a broad array of awards and recognitions that our students have received during their time at the law school. We'd like to take the opportunity throughout our ceremony today to recognize our graduates' many activities and achievements. In the back of the program, you'll find a key that describes what each of these recognitions is and what the graduates did to earn them. The first distinction I'd like to mention today is membership in our Pro Bono Society. You may notice that some of our graduates are wearing cords as part of their academic attire. These cords mean that the graduates are members of our Pro Bono Society. Membership is granted to students who have completed a specific number of volunteer hours providing free legal service for people in need. Purple cords mean the graduates completed 50 or more hours of pro bono service, and purple and gold cords indicate the graduate completed 100 or more hours. Pro bono service is an important part of the responsibility of all practicing attorneys, and we are very proud of our students who have begun to honor this commitment while still in law school. I'd like to ask our Pro Bono Society cord wearing students to stand and be recognized at this time. Please remain standing. If you are a graduate and you have done any pro bono work while at the law school, please stand and be recognized. Thanks for your commitment to helping folks in need. You may be seated. Our graduating students choose their own student speakers from among their colleagues, and our first speaker from the JD graduating class is Sophia Escorbe. Sophia graduated from Marquette University's honors program with a degree in philosophy and English literature. While in law school, she served both as the president of the Student Bar Association and an executive board member of the Latina Law Student Association, and also worked as a student ambassador for the law school admissions office. She also served as an intern with the Wisconsin Innocence Project and the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and as a volunteer for Madison Path to Citizenship, the Street Law Program, and the Middle School Mock Trial Program. As SBA president, Sophia has been a visible and energetic advocate for student needs and interests. I'm not sure when she sleeps or whether she does, but she hopes to continue serving the Wisconsin community, and we'd be honored to have her stay here with us. Please welcome Sophia Escorbe.
Thank you, Dean Raymond. Good afternoon, students, parents, faculty, staff, and friends. In thinking about what to write for this speech, I asked myself, who was I when I entered law school, and who am I now? The first thing that came to mind was that, yes, I was much more well-rested. I looked and felt younger, and not just 3 years ago younger, but before I knew what a 24-hour exam felt like younger. I'm sure many of you share the sentiment with me. But then I reflected a little deeper on the question, and I found myself thinking this: I have seen things I cannot unsee. Growing up, one of my most consistent experiences with service was driving to downtown Miami with my family on Tuesday evenings, where we met in the basement of a church to feed the homeless. Long lines formed, and we'd have to do a head count of how many people were there and how many people we'd have to turn away that night for seconds. Usually donning blue jeans, my youth group t-shirt, and a pair of Converse, I would stand behind the tables and try to pick the same food station every week, bagged sandwiches. That way, there was little to no room of messing it up. No scoops of rice to spill, no pieces of meat I had to portion out for someone, depending on how much we had that night. There in that basement, I was surrounded by my family and by adults I trusted. I didn't have to look someone I didn't have to look someone in the eye long enough to notice the fear and exhaustion in them of living a life waiting in lines while people who didn't have to watched. There, I didn't have to speak too long to someone I did not know. I was insulated. A distinguished legal scholar, Brian Stevenson, told us during one of his visits that part of advocacy is being in proximity with those who are suffering from injustice: the poor, the incarcerated, the powerless. Throughout law school, though insulated as I still am, I was brought closer in proximity with those suffering. I've helped clients who have lived through extreme trauma, both in and out of the prison system. I've heard the outrage of local high schoolers when they discovered more deeply the unfair society they live in. after a group of us attempted to explain how our criminal justice system works, how immigration laws are written, and how our political, social, and economic institutions operate. I've witnessed a domestic abuse victim trying to obtain citizenship in this country for her family's safety. I've sat with you all, class after class, as we learned how the odds are stacked against the most vulnerable in our legal system. I worked on case after case, realizing that the amount of justice one receives is more often than not tied to how much money that person has, what their skin color is, and what neighborhood they grew up in, than how culpable or deserving they are. We, as UW Law students, have seen things that we cannot unsee. And lest we forget, graduating from UW Law is both an honor and a privilege. The law, though mangled and distorted in its application and gray as it may be, is important. And as lawyers, when we speak, people will listen. When we make decisions on an issue, our opinion will weigh heavily. We don't just have a voice, we have power. Many others who are just as gifted as us, just as passionate, and just as willing cannot and will not be able to have their voices heard as loudly. They may be fighting wars in other countries, or fighting wars with their own society, or with their own conscience. They may be working multiple jobs to make the rent for their family. There are those who are just trying to survive in this world, much less change it. Many of them live far away, but some live closer than we'd like to think. On reflecting on how I got here, I think of my mother's parents, who hail from beautiful Panama, a family of strong politicians led by even stronger matriarchs. I think of my father's parents, whose ancestors fled Franco Spain to the island of Puerto Rico, which one can drive completely around in one day, in search of a better life that promised generational success. I think of my mother, a twice cancer survivor, passionate high school teacher, and naturalized US citizen, who instilled in me an intense love of literature and who told me since the age of 14 that I would make it to this stage. I think of my father, the brave Puerto Rican who left La Isla del Encanto, the island of enchantment, and its warm weather and Caribbean cuisine to attend the University of Dayton in Ohio, with its Midwestern accents and snow, a story all too familiar to me, and who continued his parents' legacy of hard work by serving in the US Army for 23 years. The truth is, I am standing here today because of the people who came before me. It is my hope and my challenge to us all that we use the voices, however we were given them, that we use the power that others will place on us to shape the infrastructure of our society for and in the name of those who cannot. And finally, I want to challenge you, my accomplished and talented classmates. Over these past 3 years, you have showed me your passion in lending your voices to issues when you sensed an injustice. You were courageous in your attempts to hold those in power accountable, not only for their actions, but for the effect that their actions had to our most vulnerable communities. As you set out into the world as newly minted attorneys, I ask you to remember the conversations you had with others about what didn't feel right to you, as someday, people may be arguing over your actions. Let them be constantly challenged, especially by those whose voices tend to live in our society's shadows. And let us time and time again be reminded of our own lack of proximity to suffering so that we may connect again with those who need us the most. And I hope you continue to lend your voices as vigorously as ever in the face of injustice, even when it is unpopular to do so. I am proud to call you all my classmates, and congratulations to the UW Law Class of 2017.
Thank you, Sophia. I think you all can tell that Sophia took great advantage of the opportunities for service that were available to her as a law student. And she's not alone. Our students are richly involved in service to the law school, to their student organizations, to the community. At this time, I'd like to ask every student who received an award for a service to be recognized. If you're not sure your award's in a service award, stand up anyway. Please stay standing. Now I'd like to ask every student who played a leadership role at the law school in a student organization to stand and join your colleagues. I think you can tell our students reach out for leadership, don't sit down. I'd like to ask every student who was involved with student organizations or activities in any way to stand and join your college. SBA, a student org, a journal, middle school mock trial, gave blood at the Dean's Cup, cooked breakfast at the homeless shelter. Thank you. I think you can tell what active, engaged, and enthusiastic members of our law school, university, and Madison community the class of 2017 has been. Thanks so much for all you've done. Please be seated. One of the things that makes the University of Wisconsin Law School a unique place is our commitment to experiential learning. We believe that our students learn not just from their opportunity for a rich and rigorous program of academic learning, but for their chance to put that sophisticated analytical ability to work in the service of clients, usually real, occasionally simulated, and always with an eye toward learning how to lawyer from an experienced, thoughtful, and reflective member of our faculty or a capable externship supervisor. We have an extraordinary array of experiential learning opportunities for a law school of our size, and that means an amazing set of opportunities for our students to learn by doing. Some of our members of our graduate class have been recognized with honors specifically for excellence in their performance in a law school clinic. At this time, I'd like to ask our graduates who've been honored for the quality of their clinical work to please rise. Don't sit down. I would ask any student who participated in a clinical program, externship, judicial internship, lawyering skills, or other experiential learning program to stand up and be recognized. Thank you. You may be seated. Our next student speaker today represents the law school's graduate students. He is Jin Tony Su. Tony was born in Xi'an in Shanxi Province, China. He earned his bachelor and master's degrees from the Northwest University of Politics and Law, served as a chief judge assistant at the Higher People's Court of Shanxi Province for a 4-month internship. And after passing the Chinese bar exam in 2010, he worked as a paralegal for a year. In 2013, he enrolled as a PhD candidate in civil, commercial law at the East China University of Politics and Law. He later became a visiting scholar in Hong Kong. As a graduate student at UW Law School, Tony has focused his research on property and contract law. After graduation, he plans on returning to China to spend some time with his wife and complete his doctoral studies. I'm very happy to welcome Jin Su here today to represent our graduate programs.
Thank you, Dean Raymond. Wow, you guys look so beautiful today. Good afternoon to our proud families and close friends and admirable teachers. And last but not least, my fellow graduates. I'm truly honored to be here as a student speaker today, and congratulations to all of you. We have gone through endless amounts of the readings, hundreds of in-class lectures, intellectual debates, and arguments. But today, I would like to talk about the less obvious aspect of the past 10 months about the way I see our law school and the way I see the LLM program. After 2 semesters study here, I have a new understanding of American law school. A law school is not just about unbearable academic burden, the overstating curve of future, and atmosphere of fierce competition. More importantly, it is about the law school teachers' professional and patient teaching. It is about native students polite support, and law school's humanistic concern in every daily detail. And that teaches me, as a law practitioner, a black letter law and cases are important, but law is no more important than human being itself. Without doubt, I learned a lot from here, but my true learning came not from books, but from the interaction with you guys. When I first got out in law school, I found something interesting. We could have lunch with friends from China, Germany, Thailand, Brazil, Chile, Korea, and of course, America, in one table. Given the current global complexities, such a scenario is not even likely if you work for the United Nations cafeteria. As a member of the LMs, during the communication with my classmates, we all already have a new understanding of ourselves, and we all know how to improve ourselves in a better way. During the whole semester in law school, everyone is trying to find what they want in law school. Take myself as an example. As a PhD candidate in Ethiopia or Shanghai and a part-time lawyer in China, because of my major and search area, I want to get a whole picture of the American property law system and the other civil and commercial law areas. I think I did it. And I think I learned more than I expected. Elsevier was so much more than just the credits we got. We fell in love with medicine, except the winter. When I first got here, Mike told me we should get some more clothes because it's winter, it's cold. I know it's winter, it's cold, but I didn't know it was that cold. When I saw the Game of Thrones during the winter break and heard the whistle of the cold winter outside the window, I finally got what the winter coming means. But fortunately, warm-hearted people in medicine and law school warmed my heart. Because of your kindness and hospitality, we could get through the winter cold, the Wisconsin cold. Right here, on behalf of the LM class of 2017, I would like to express my sincerest gratitude to all whole Wisconsin law community for making this year the best academic year of our life. Thank you for your best education I have ever received, both in and outside the classrooms. To my LM classmates, I personally want to thank you for your trust and your friendship. Thanks to all the professors and GD students who with warmth and hospitality accept us in the classroom. And more importantly, with patience let us finish the point and the sentence we were desperately trying to make with our broken English. Thank you to the SGD students for helping us to get to know the American law well in Chinese way. To all the parents, families, and friends, and especially to my parents back in China who cannot be here today, thank you for your support. Thank you to my wife, her understanding and support. We got married for 2 years. A long-distance relationship is tough, but trust me, law school is harder. Thank you, Dean Raymond, for your kindness, and a wonderful taste of ice cream will last forever. Thank you, Mike, for always be here for us, for your great efforts to students' life, and always fight for us. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, graduate program staff, Jason, Ashley, Wenjie, and AP office, Muji, Ben, and external affairs office, Janine, for kindness and help. Thank you, Professor Michelle. During the whole 2 semesters here, you are like the mother, always take care of us. And that makes us feel the warmth of home. Your sweet home is the home for us in USA. And the other one, of course, is our law school. Today is not just the celebration of what we have individually and collectively achieved. More importantly, today is a declaration, a covenant of what we plan to do, not for ourselves, but for others and for our global city. Dear friends, follow the excellence, succeed will chase you. Thank you so much. Congratulations, the class of 2017.
Our second JD degree candidate speaker is Courtney Nussbaumer. Courtney was born in Milwaukee. She graduated from Macalester College with a degree in political science and Hispanic studies. After graduating from college, Courtney spent a year teaching English in Santiago, Chile through the Chilean Ministry of Education. While in law school, Courtney participated in the Immigrant Justice Clinic, served as a vice president of Mock Trial, and as the editor-in-chief of the Wisconsin International Law Journal, and competed in the Inter-American Human Rights Moot Court competition. She also interned for Justice Shirley Abrahamson of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. After graduation, she plans on practicing immigration law in upstate New York. Please join me in welcoming Courtney Nussbaumer.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Dean Raymond. Welcome, everyone. I am so honored to be speaking before you today. A special thanks is in order to my classmates for casting your votes in the mini student election that we had to determine student speakers. I kind of feel like a prom queen, to be honest. And thank you also to Russia, who may or may not have been involved in this election as well. Just kidding, that's fake news, everyone, fake news. All right. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that this Sunday is Mother's Day. I can safely say none of us would be here without our mothers. Thank you, mothers, mine included, for your love, guidance, and support that has truly made this day possible. Wow, law school. It seems just like yesterday we walked into our first class with clammy hands and quickened heart rates, or maybe that's just me describing my trek up the law school hill every day. In any case, law school has truly been a cycle of peaks and valleys. We peaked when we got in, had a 3-year valley, and then are peaking again today. I've taken some time to reflect on some of the deep questions and irony I found in law school, so please indulge me. Why is it that the best players in law always get to sit on the bench? Okay. Why is a fee simple determinable in property so difficult to determine? What's the best piece of work I've read in law school thus far? Probably the Constitution. It's got some great articles. But most importantly, should I stop myself now before this legal pandemonium gets out of hand? I think so. So how have I changed since coming to law school? Well, it's now harder to engage in conversations with non-law school friends. For example, when my friend tells me she's getting married, usually the first comment out of my mouth is, "Wow, did you know Wisconsin's a marital property state? Have you considered a prenup or drafted your will yet?" In all seriousness, though, what are the themes that have arisen throughout the law, the cases, and the statutes these past years? Is there a single word that can sum it all up? Lawyers are generally not short on words, so this was a difficult task. One theme came to mind, though, and that is balance. Even though I didn't have a lot of it these past 3 years, I still believe that balance is important. After all, Lady Justice stands with her scales balanced, ready to weigh the issue at hand. Our courts balance interests. Our Constitution establishes a system of checks and balances. In the real world, we're told to eat balanced diets and balance our checkbooks. A great legal mind, Ellen DeGeneres, put it this way: life is about balance, the good and the bad, the highs and the lows, the pina and the colada. Right now in our world, it may be difficult to say that we have a balance. So what do lawyers have to do with this balance? Well, my point is this: lawyers help keep our world in balance. In one sense, lawyers hold life in balance. Law asks us to face the fragility of life and plan, mitigate, and sometimes litigate. Lawyers answer questions like, what happens if my loved one becomes disabled tomorrow, but my insurance policy refuses to pay? What happens if my family's life savings disappear because of an act of corporate greed? What happens if I can't enter the country because of the color of my skin or the religion I practice? On a national level, lawyers can help strike a balance when it feels like our country has fallen to extremes. Institutions fundamental to our country, like democracy, are ultimately a balancing act. Democracy has always been contentious. That's probably why our founding fathers fell to fisticuffs over ideas we take for granted today. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg put it this way: "I'm optimistic in the long run. A great man once said that the true symbol of the United States is not a bald eagle, but the pendulum. And when the pendulum swings too far in one direction, it will swing back." I personally think that finding a balance in our democracy may require more bridges and fewer walls. It may take more diplomacy and less demagoguery. It may call for more facts and less fiction. As lawyers, however, it is our individual responsibility to choose virtue over vice and courage over cowardice to help restore balance and justice to our world. On a state level, historically, Wisconsin has tried to level the balance and level the odds for its people, showing that democracy does not just belong to the wealthiest, the loudest, or the biggest, but it belongs to the people. From its progressive roots in the Fighting Bob LaFollette years, a lawyer himself, Wisconsin saw the development of something called the Wisconsin Idea. This idea saw the state as a laboratory for democracy, resulting in legislation that served as a model for other states as well as the federal government. In fact, there's a sign outside the law school that is a testament to this Wisconsin school of thought. Thank you, Con Law 1, for teaching me that. Specifically, the sign expands upon the National Social Security System developed right here in Wisconsin that became the cornerstone of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal, a program that helped pull our country out of the Great Depression. It was this same forward thinking that brought about such programs such as unemployment insurance, minimum wage law, and women's suffrage. It showed that a state university and state government could work together to balance competing interests and ultimately better the lives of all Wisconsinites. From our country to our state to our communities, if you feel like the pendulum has swung too far, take heart. History shows that it will swing back, but we cannot take this swing for granted. As lawyers, we now have the unique opportunity and responsibility to use the law to contribute to the future hanging in the balance. It starts simply by restoring the balance to one person's life sitting across the table from you. But then slowly and surely, case by case and client by client, we'll find ourselves democratizing, equalizing, and harmonizing our world just a little more. Congratulations, class of 2017, you did it. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. I think I mentioned in her introduction that Courtney was both part of a law journal and a member of Mock Trial. Mock Trial and our journals are part of what we call co-curricular activities here. They are ways to continue learning and developing your skills as a lawyer, advocate, and writer, but outside the context of traditional law coursework. These activities provide a great array of opportunities for students to hone their litigation, appellate advocacy, and trial practice skills, to write for publication and edit scholarly work, or otherwise develop skills as administrators, managers, and coordinators, as well as growing their lawyering abilities. While these groups have faculty advisors, a vast amount of the heavy lifting of running them is done by the student leadership and membership of these activities. At this time, I would like to ask all the graduates who received awards for their work with a co-curricular activity, including journals, moot court, or mock trial, to rise and be recognized. You know the drill, don't sit down. Now I'd like to ask every graduate who played a leadership role in any of these activities to join their colleagues and stand up and be recognized. Now I'd like to ask every graduate who participated in any of these activities to stand up and be recognized. Thank you. You may be seated. Now you know why they haven't been calling. They've been really busy. Every year, we give our graduating class the opportunity to choose a hooding ceremony speaker from the law school. This year, the graduating class has selected our Director of Student Life, Mike Hall. Mike has been a member of the law school community since 2001 when he joined us as a student, and has been a member of the staff since 2004 when he graduated with his JD and joined us first as Assistant Dean for Admissions and Financial Aid, and then as Director of Student Life. In his current role, Mike has been organizer, counselor, referral service, support network, advisor, coordinator, collaborator, and colleague to quite literally thousands of UW law students. In recognition of his commitment to student life and wellness, Mike has been honored with the University of Wisconsin Division of Student Life Partnership Award. Helping with challenges, fomenting joy, offering encouragement, and always bringing along a big box of Green Bush donuts, Mike has always been there. If, as the saying goes, 80% of success is just showing up, Mike, who is everywhere, is the most successful person I know. As our students know, Mike will be leaving the law school soon to return to his home in Great Falls, Montana, to be closer to his family. In participation for his departure, we've named a Leo Scholarship in his honor, and our new student lounge will also bear his name, but I think our students wanted to hear from Mike one last time, which is why it is my honor to welcome Mike Hall as this year's law school speaker.
I have props. All right. Thank you, Dean Raymond. Welcome, Judge Sykes. Congratulations, graduates. Congratulations and thank you for coming, family, friends, significant others, people who just happened to come here when they're thinking of going to somewhere else than Monona Terrace. You're all welcome. Thank you for coming and helping us to help us celebrate the class of 2017. My name is Mike Hall. As Dean said, I'm the Director of Student Life here. I'm from Great Falls, Montana. And as she'd said, I like donuts. I'm also a 16L, being here since 2001. I'm very honored to be the first 16L speaker here. Before I get too far into the speech, there's a little bit of housekeeping I need to take care of. Over the years, I've overlooked or forgotten to respond to some emails from students. And so I want to take care of a few of those. First, Haley, in the fall of your 1L year, you emailed me. The answer is yes. Jack, where are you? Jack Herder. Last spring, you should definitely go to the emergency room. Absolutely. Don't. Pedro? No. And Kate Fifield. You do need to take that class to graduate. Oh, well, you're here, so you must have taken that class to graduate. Congratulations. Kudos on that. In the next couple months, I'm going to be moving home. Sorry, this might get tough in a moment. Sorry. I'm going to be moving home to Montana. But in the last 25 years in Montana, a lot of people have moved there, and the people of Montana haven't been too thrilled with all these people from those coasts coming into the state. And so the state has implemented some restrictions and some things that people have to do before they either move there or repatriate, as I'm doing. First, we have to traverse an agility course on horseback. I've got a horseback riding simulation app on my phone that I've been doing, so I'm hopeful that I'll be able to do it. Secondly, we must become proficient with both handguns and rifles. And then in addition to that, you have to have cowboy boots, so check and check. They thought about putting up a border wall, but that's just stupid. Okay. And now it's time for the audience interactive portion, or this graduate interactive portion of the speech. We're going to play a little game that I call Email from Mike Hall or Not. I'm going to read a passage that might or might not have been in an email I sent to students. I'm going to cold call a contestant who must tell me if it was in an email. Contestant number 1, Kelly Freeman. Was this in an email? The weather prognosticators have said that there's a 100% chance of, holy cow, it's cold, temperatures. Please be aware that on your way to school, the question, why do I live here, might course shiveringly through your head over and over again. You are correct. All right. And you win a tiny Bucky Badger. All right. This is fun. Contestant number 2, Christina. Semi. Sorry. I want to thank Dogs on Call for coming to the law school. Please purge from your mind any thought about the fact that these therapy dogs likely had to turn down a trip to the children's hospital or an old folks home to come and visit all of you. What's that? Yes, you are correct. You too win a tiny Bucky Badger. And I threw that left-handed. All right. And finally, contestant number 3, Brent Iceburner. Ready? All right. Consumption of the donut may make you whole, though the donut's whole will not be a party to the filling of the whole. Any claim of a breach of the implied warranty of deliciousness shall be settled by a Danish arbitrator. That's yes? You are absolutely right. They were cold called, but I intentionally chose Brent and Kelly because they have little people, and little people will like little tiny Buckies. So the rest of you are just kind of random. So sorry about that. All right, so congratulations. That concludes email from Mike Hall or not for today, and probably ever. Let's see if I can turn my page. Incidentally, all those emails, I kept them on a private server in Westchester County, New York. I love this law school. I love the law school community. Our students, our graduates, my colleagues. I feel very, very lucky to have had this opportunity to work with and learn from so many incredible people, artists, athletes, musicians, engineers, scientists, farmers, writers, veterans, and like I said, my law school staff, fellow colleagues and staff, all had an immeasurable impact on my life. And I just, as I said, as I get ready to go home to Montana and to be close to my parents, though you've taught me a lot, I admit I know nothing about the Erie Doctrine, Chevron deference, Mulaney or Patterson, but I know lawyers all over the world who do good work in myriad practice areas. You can be a zealous advocate, seek justice, and practice with heart. You can recognize bias, be cognizant of privilege, think about the world around you, care about the underrepresented. Think of the earth and think of the earth you want for your children and your children's children. Challenge yourself, challenge me, challenge us, march up State Street, resist, persist, but get out and enjoy life. Go places, listen to live music, take pictures, and eat donuts. I want to assure you that I'll always be available for you, even when I'm not here anymore. You can contact me whenever. You can email me, you can text me, you can yell loudly. I might not be here, might not be physically here to share donuts anymore, but knowing people all over the world, I can often recommend a place to get donuts wherever you happen to be at some moment. So keep in touch. Come visit Montana, but wear cowboy boots. And congratulations, graduates, and on Wisconsin. Thank you very much.
Don't go anywhere. Go to your place. Thanks, Mike. Two small additional presentations. First of all, For those of you who are not familiar with it, this is a replica of the gargoyle that was on the original law school. It's sort of the mascot or symbol of our law school. This replica has the unfortunate resemblance to a giant gummy bear, but it means an awful lot to us. This only goes to our best friends and often on the occasion of their leaving. Mike, this gargoyle is going to be yours. It doesn't have its name tag yet, but it's going to. Somebody else wanted to weigh in on Mike's departure. This is a citation from the Wisconsin State Legislature, and I'm going to read it if my arm is long enough. Print is very small. Know you by these presents, whereas the Wisconsin Legislature, on the motion of Representative Daniel Reamer and Representative Jimmy Anderson, would like to recognize Mike Hall and his commitment to the University of Wisconsin Law School. And whereas Mike Hall has served the University of Wisconsin Law School since 2004 in various positions, as Assistant Dean for Admissions and Financial Aid and as Director of Student Life, and whereas, while in law school at the University of Wisconsin, Mike served the law school community with distinction as president of the Student Bar Association, as producer of the Law Review, the law school's comedy variety show, and as organizer for the Dean's Cup, the annual month-long competition between the UW Law School and Medical School, and whereas, at the end of his first year in law school, Mike won the George Young Memorial Award, and after his second and third years in law school, won the Bruce Balthus Memorial Scholarship. Both honors recognized his outstanding service to the law school community. And whereas, as an administrator, these legislators do go on. Mike has been honored with the UW Division of Student Life Partnership Award in recognition of his commitment to student life and wellness. He initiated programming like yoga classes, therapy dogs, and movie nights to help students reduce stress. He has also been recognized by numerous student organizations, and a Leo Scholarship has been named in his honor. And whereas, Mike's career statistics at UW Law School will almost certainly remain unbroken. During his time working at the law school, he has guided more than 2,500 students through admissions and student services. He has provided more than 12,000 kosher donuts from Greenbush Bakery. He has attended 15 law school orientations, including his own. He has tossed his cane over the field goal crossbar in 13 homecoming games at Camp Randall. And whereas, as a former host of a public radio show featuring blues, soul, and jazz music, Mike often made use of his artistic skills as director of student life. He especially made use of his photographic skills to record life at the law school. His photographic work even appeared in The Guardian, the most read newspaper in the world. And whereas, Mike Hall always goes above and beyond for UW students. When Representative Jimmy Anderson was hospitalized between his second and third years at UW Law School, Mike was the first person to visit him at UW Hospital. Therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Wisconsin Legislature, on the motion of Representative Daniel Reamer and Representative Jimmy Anderson, hereby congratulate Mike Hall on his career at the University of Wisconsin Law School. Congratulations, Mike.
You gotta hold it far away. No, not this? Yeah. Holy moly. Thank you, Dean Raymond, and thank you, students. This was a surprise. It's been an amazing, there's a slight correction. I've been to 16 orientations. It's been an amazing time here. I'm never going to forget all the wonderful people whom I've gotten to know and with whom I will stay in touch with and forever. And you've made me the person that I am, and I'm just truly honored and can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for me. And I'm just an incredibly lucky guy to have had the good fortune of being around well over 1,000 law students and working with such amazing colleagues. So thank you very much. And let me say one other quick thing. Parents, you all do great jobs. These are wonderful people. So good job. Thank you very much. And I made it through without tears.
Thank you. I want to encourage our graduates and guests to keep an eye out at our reception later for some refreshments that were chosen in Mike's honor. One last recognition before we move on to the moment you've all been waiting for. Let me call your attention to the cardinal red stoles that you see some of our graduates wearing today. The graduates wearing these stoles are graduating with high academic honors and have consistently excelled in their studies at the law school. We also have other academic recognitions that honor a student's particular performance in a particular class or area of study. And we also have a Dean's List recognition that students can earn on a semester basis for their academic achievement. At this time, I'd like to ask any student who has ever during their time at the law school received any academic honor, ever won a book prize, ever been on the Dean's List, to stand so we can recognize you for your hard work and your accomplishment. Thank you. You can be seated. As their teachers and advisors, we're very proud of them, but as their families, friends, and community, we know you are too. Now we come to a very special time in the program, presenting our degree candidates with their hoods. This symbolic process publicly demonstrates that you've completed your degree. The colors on your hood represent both your field of study and the university where you earned your degree. The purple is for law and the red is for Wisconsin. You may not have the chance to wear academic regalia again anytime soon, and given how comfy these polyester outfits are, that may be okay with you, but if you do and they have properly chosen it, you and anyone else who cares to figure it out will be able to tell from that regalia that your highest degree is a degree in law and that you earned it at the University of Wisconsin. As the ushers stand by your row, please come up to the stage. You'll give your card to Diana Klein. Diana will give us a wave. You will be directed to the faculty who will present your hood to you. We'll be hooding 2 graduates at a time. Then each graduate in turn will come join me over here and we'll take a photograph. For family and friends of the graduates, the professional images taken of the graduates will be available afterwards for purchase, but we have saved space for you and we invite you to come on down and take as many photos of everything as you would like. Please don't be shy. This is your day too. But it can get crowded up here. So graduates, as you see it's getting to be your turn, text your parents and say, I'm coming up soon. And that way they'll know to come down and get in position to take the picture. Please keep the aisles clear so the graduates can return to their seats, and let's get started.
Brent Iceburner. Kelly Jean Freeman. Elaine Fairs. Ezra Michael Kramer. Michael Hallowen. David Pierce. Miranda Anna Marie Cotant. Shelby Wallace. Sean Zanacco. Christina Lauren Briggs. Christina M. Semi. Whitney Ader. Lindsay Bly. Samantha Ritchie. Haley Painter. Chelsea Fisher. Megan Humphreys. Nicole Heidi Kalupa. Maro Kim. Unmi Chang. Bethany Wilson. Leah Bohyun Park. Suckman Dale. Kendrick Yandel. Jessica Haskell. Anthony Moore. James Radcliffe. Davis Rundy. Brittany Shanick. Lucy Butner. Amadani Bonsanor. Shayla Marie Turner. Matthew J. Hefty. Hannah Lenzo. Amanda Roush. Matthew Christopher Coker. Daniel Irvin Larson. William Connor Griffiths. Ngozi Agbo. Evan Kendall. Miranda Heimstreet. Matthew Mortel. Stephanie Klein. Kendra Patlak. Alexandra Keys. Anjali Patel. Kelsey Annan. Emily Elizabeth Ames. Benjamin M. Killips. Samuel Case. Devlin Sheehan Gonzalez. Eric W. Clem. Paige Resch. Jaylon Pasley. Kristen L. Martin. Christopher Nienhaus. Lauren Weber. Caitlin Farkason. Sarah Nicholas Korger. Patrick Lighthizer. Eric Martin. Austin Doan. Catherine Hilden. Riyad El Azam. Michael LeClaire. Anna Grilly. Caitlin Washburn. Miles Witt. Christopher Line. Catherine Elizabeth Fifield. Cassandra Danae Lucille. Chuma Offer. Jeremy Wadajo. Brian Egan. Connor Valentine. Shannon Linz. William Martin. John Parker Davis. Jonathan Lawrence Morse. Melissa Zabkowitz. Monica Anderson. Molly Malloy. Olivia Pietrantoni. Elizabeth Spencer. Michael Turner. James Kelly. Evan Edward Umpier. Zog Begoli. Bryce Neal. Matthew Traynellis. Aaron Stoffaker. Jack Herder. Tom Griesbach. Catherine Pfefferly. Cecilia Kress. David Lanzer. Thaddeus Tip McGuire. Daniel Joshua Schneider. Evan Gorlick. Jacob Feltham. Sophie Crispin. Dio Adesui. Jesse Fruchter. John Lightfield. David Hollander. Alex Phillips. Rob Evans. Teuta Jonuzzi. Pedro Hernandez Ruvalcaba. Kai Hovden. Cody McConnell. Joseph Diedrich. Nicholas Dallasanta. Vanessa Rodriguez. Courtney Wilson. Ann Reynolds. Amanda Michelle Postel. Elaf Mosen. Molly Cohen. Colton Timmons. Zachary Carlson. Iris Jaimin Tian. Hu Ying Ying. Myongki Kim. Do Han Yuen. Marco Barros. Liu Xuen Yu. Yang Chin Yuen. Song Mo Han. Loa Mingyue. Lodan. Tu Naishin. Shu Ying. Sai Rua Rua. Lien Xiao Jie. Paulette Hara. Lai Xiao Jun. Gamonlak Kampen. Zabina Forbrat. Katalin Winkler. Jade Sadapon Sambunpong. Jin Jing. Ding Yi. Huang Si Tong. Song Jin Lu. Yongzhu Zhang. Chao Shi Yung. Sophia Ascorby. Courtney Nussbaumer. And Su Jin.
Thank you. My sincerest thanks to each and every one of you for being here to share this day with us. After the ceremony, we invite you to join us for a reception outside on the roof of the Monona Terrace. It's a beautiful day and there will be donuts. Guests, please remain seated until the faculty and graduates have exited the exhibition hall. The ushers will help the graduates recess at your rows. We will see you at the party.